So let's move right along to item 4 on our agenda, which is the Austin Police Department budget review and recommendations based on the council initiatives and other budget items under review. This is the item that Sue Gabriel commented on earlier, just to help everyone make that connection. As a quick, I guess, prelude to this, we do have backup materials that were sent out earlier. We have some additional information sent out via a PowerPoint from the Austin Police Department. And then we also have an email from Chief Gay that includes some response to questions we had in our last meeting about attrition rates. So that was sent in response to, I believe, some of Commissioner Harris's questions in our last meeting. And some of that information, there's some additional information also included in the PowerPoint on attrition rates. So for this item, we have both a recommendation and an amendment that are on the table. So we will start with recommendation 20200518-004. Do we have a motion on the table for this recommendation?
And to clarify, this is the one that is specifically not including the 5.5 million. Is that correct? Or
so this is the initial recommendation. What we will do is once we have a motion on the table for this recommendation, we can incorporate the amendment during our discussion and embed that into this recommendation so that we can pass it with the amended recommendation. Does that make sense? Okay. So do we have a motion on the table for recommendation 20200518-004?
I don't have a motion, but, and I'm sorry, I cannot find the email from Chief Gay. Is there any way that someone could send me a copy?
So it came from Janet. She forwarded it to us earlier. And if you look at it's the email that has the PowerPoint in it. If you look at below that, it includes the forwarded email as well. It's all in the same email.
Oh, I see.
Email from Chief Gay. The information below has the attrition rate information.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kelly?
So just to be clear, 004, is that the original? Is that the recommendation we voted on last time?
It's a little bit different from that.
Does this omit the 30 individuals sworn?
No, that's in item 005.
Got it. Thank you.
I separated them to try to make this a little bit easier on us.
Yeah.
So this is only in that original budget presentation that we got the items under council initiatives and other budget items under review. So this is the addressing violent crime in Austin, the cadet salary increase, the 4 civilian FTEs, the records management system replacement, and the HELO replacement.
But not the 30 additional sworn?
Right, that's in recommendation 005 because that's in the base budget. So we're dealing with base budget in 005. That's our next item on the agenda. Okay. 004 addresses the police department additional requests that were not in the 5-year projected budget that has already been approved by council.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Hollis?
Yes.
I just want to inform you that Ken Cassidy is on the line if there are questions from the board for Ken Cassidy, Austin Police Association. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm glad we were able to get him on the line. So, commissioners, we now have Ken Cassidy from the Austin Police Association on the line to answer questions on this item. Okay, so any discussion, motions, etc. Do we want to make a motion for the revised recommendation with the amendment?
I'm sorry, I'm still confused, Chair. I'm really sorry. So just point of order, please. Is there a motion on the table right now, or are you still waiting for someone to move for something?
I'm waiting for someone to move for something
Okay.
so I can do something.
And am I right that there are 3 versions of .004 that have circulated? One includes a single line item of 5.5 million for addressing violent crime. Another one includes 5 line items, starting with 5.5 million for violent crime, and then going through the laundry list that you talked about with the helicopter. And then there's also a third one. Is that correct?
No, there should be 2. There should be the original that was 004 with the 5 line items, and then the amendment removed the funding for the 5.5 million for addressing violent crime.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Everyone.
Okay, so there's 2 kind of proposed motions. Neither of them are yet on the table. One has 4 line items and one has 5 line items.
There you go.
And
one includes addressing violent crime, the other one does not.
Okay, and I'm not hearing that anyone wants to move for any of them, but maybe I'll just be quiet and someone will.
Okay, so we need to have at least some kind of discussion / motion to do something with these items because we are required to make a recommendation to council on these 5 items.
I have a question.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Hausenfluck.
Do we need to move for this initial document before the amendments? I guess would be my question, before any amendments are added.
Yes.
Okay, then I'll move.
Okay, so we have a motion on the original recommendation that was sent out, 004 with the 5 line items by Commissioner Hausenfluck. Do we have a second? I will second that just to get some discussion going and get us moving forward. All right. Any discussion? All right, the chair recognizes Commissioner Weber.
All right, y'all, just another point of order. Do we not need to pass the base budget before we talk about add-ons? No? Okay. Will you explain that?
They're separate line items for us to vote on.
Okay.
Which is
So,
why the base budget is in item 5.
okay.
This is separate. They are divorced from each other. All right, the chair recognizes Commissioner Harris.
Sure, thank you. You all know that even in normal times, I seriously question the between more police and more safety. And the difference between high and low crime areas isn't the number of police, but the resources available to these communities and the relative health and opportunities available to the people in those communities. During this pandemic, the resource and health disparities in our communities have only been amplified. And the safety of poorer communities is worse despite a significant decrease in crime over the last couple of months. We don't know what budgets will look like moving forward, but it's likely that many departments will have to suffer cuts. But those that directly relate to the health of our communities and our ability to respond to this crisis shouldn't be the ones that get cut. And I think, and that's why I agreed very much with the increases proposed to EMS. But if any department should face cuts, it's one that's seen its service requests, including 911 calls and overall crime, severely slashed, and which already takes up over 40% of the budget. Therefore, I can't vote, won't vote for any increase to the police budget, and really just want to ensure that the city's ongoing obligations are met to its personnel across all departments. But that's it. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Any other discussion? The chair recognizes Commissioner Weber. You're muted.
So I would like to suggest to Commissioner Hasenfluck that we amend this. I could vote for this if it only included the line item at number 4, and here's why. I largely agree with Commissioner Harris's broad statements about where we should be investing our money right now, and I think we should be investing our tax dollars in keeping people healthy and in proven programs to help our vulnerable populations and people experiencing homelessness. And so I think we should be investing millions in Austin Travis County EMS and not in the police department. The reason that I would support 1.5 million, which is, a lot for the records management system, is I would like to see that pay off to the community in terms of more accountability and more transparency. So we should no longer be having a third-party investigator coming back to the city and saying, I really couldn't investigate something because the police department didn't save the record. So I would certainly support $1.5 million if that means that we are going to, as the citizens of Austin, have more transparency about what's going on at the police department. I have no idea what that 1.5 million is supposed to pay for, though. So if anyone knows, I'd like to hear it.
Sure. So that's to replace the current records management system. I don't know if we have Chief Gay on the line yet, but I've asked a lot of questions about this because this is my area of academic expertise. So I was very, very interested in this from a nerd point of view. The existing records management system is antiquated. The different pieces of it don't talk to each other. So the ability to connect the records across different pieces of the records management system is onerous, time-consuming, and sometimes impossible. Previously in my research life, requesting data, we had to pull it from multiple systems and then use statistical techniques to match across information because the different pieces of the RMS were not talking to each other. And so it just makes it very difficult for you to pull the information out of the RMS. Frankly, it feels like going back to the late 70s, early 80s in a computer system, to put it in perspective for you guys. I think that is an area that is desperately needed, both for the preservation of records in a safe way, but also in a way that will reduce the time for people to be able to access those records. And the development of a new records management system, from my perspective, will allow for easier, for lack of a better word, relationships with researchers and others who make database decisions to be able to pull that data out, analyze it so that we are better equipped as a city to make evidence-based decisions in policing rather than, kind of the traditional Victorian policing approach, which is just do what we've always done. That's my perspective on that. Commissioner Weber?
So I'm even more persuaded, having heard that, and y'all, I think you all know, like Dr. Hollis, this is her area of expertise. So, and I just want to add that even as we voted, I think a 7-figure recommendation to council last year for EMS to update its record keeping, this to me seems like money very well spent.
Very much so. Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Kelly?
Sorry. Couple of things. Is Chief Gay on phone yet, or on this meeting? Do we know?
Yes, sir.
We have Chief
Yes, sir,
Gay
I
on
am.
the line.
Yes, I am on.
Yay!
I am very sympathetic to the lack of resources for a variety of communities in Austin. I'm very sympathetic to our lack of public health and the impact that COVID has had on that has exacerbated that situation. But we don't have any control over money that we don't approve for APD to go anywhere else. I think hoping that that money might go to public health is great, but hope is not, I don't think, an appropriate way to talk about budgets. I would like to hear from Chief Gay, since it sounds like there's some concern here about these 5 items. It sounds like there's some movement to not approve 4 of them. I would like to, I assume the budget process is pretty systematic and informed. They don't just make these numbers up. So Chief Gay, could you speak to these 5 items and provide some justification for why you all need these allocations?
Absolutely. I'm actually, I'm going to let Michelle sort of go over the budget items and then the justification that we wrote up, and then I'll add to that. So Michelle, will you go over those 5, please?
Absolutely. This is Michelle Schmidt, Chief Administrative Officer for the Police Department. So the 5 items are the $5.5 million for addressing violent crime in Austin. That included 24 new positions to create Metro tactical teams and to create an overtime fund for those teams to work on the weekends to address violent crime. And it also had some budget line items for equipment like cameras and license plate readers and light sets. The number 2 item on there was the cadet salary increase. That was a market study that was done by the city's corporate human resource department in FY19, and the recommendation was made to increase the cadet salary from $40,000 to $50,000, and we have not been funded for that. And in order to maintain a competitive base in recruiting cadets to the academy, that was the recommendation by corporate HRD. The next item is the 4 civilian FTEs, which included the firearms examiner. This is a technician that would enter into the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, known as NIBIN. This is to do database searching for fired ballistics for addressing gun crime. There's also a request for 2 crime analysts to enter data from sexual assault reports into the Federal Violent Crime Apprehension Program, known as VICAP. This is mandated by Texas state law, and we currently, as of September 1st of 2019, so it's a pretty new mandate. And we do currently have a backlog of 5,000 cases with an estimate of approximately 300 new cases annually. The last request on that is for a business process consultant to basically do business planning and performance targets in relation to Strategic Direction 2023 in an effort to increase accuracy and transparency in the metrics for the community. The 4th item is the records management system. I think you guys had a very good description of that, so I won't add anything else to that one. The 5th item is the helicopter replacement. This particular helicopter is 19 years old. It's been very difficult for us to get parts for it because they are not manufacturing parts anymore, and so the parts in the United States are very scarce to do any kind of maintenance on it. And so it's a replacement for that. The current equipment that we have on there, we will be able to move into the new replacement helicopter. So this has a little bit of a trade-in. To get to the 1.275 number, there's a little bit of a trade-in value, as well as not having to purchase the equipment. Chief Gay, do you want to add any additional justification?
No, I think that that covered it. I do want to make sure that everyone knows that we are evidence-based policing data driven. We have moved away from zero tolerance initiatives. I only wanted to mention that because that was something that was written in some of the rationale, but that's really about it.
Great. Thank you, Chief Day. So the chair recognizes Commissioner Weber.
And I just wanted to remind y'all that we asked council to give APD cadets a pay raise, I think, last year. I no longer support that. I supported that last year, and I don't anymore, given the current climate, and if anyone in the controversy regarding the academy. So I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, but I'm happy to expound on that. But I just wanted to make that clear because I'm not sure, but I think everyone here, except maybe Chris, who wasn't with us, and Dr. Kelly, who wasn't with us, voted for that, I think. So I just want to remind y'all.
I know it seems like I've been with you longer than that, but I wasn't here yet either. All right. So I want to first, in response to that, my biggest concern in not approving that is our ability to recruit higher quality candidates to be cadets is going to be diminished by that. So I'm concerned that we'll end up with more of the same of what we're getting instead of being able to recruit people potentially with college backgrounds, with, the characteristics that the research base shows makes people less likely to take the kinds of actions that we've been having problems with, if that makes sense. The chair recognizes Commissioner Weber.
And that is a very eloquent explanation of my mindset last year, which was that if, better candidates was what we wanted. But at this point, I think no recruiting should be going on because this academy has been indicted as far as what they're training. And we have a city council who is asking for an enormous amount of change and movement by July. And I think we all know that it's just not going to happen by July. And so just to respond to what the chair is saying, of course, in an ideal world, we want to be recruiting the best people to come to our city and help keep us safe. But right now, we shouldn't be spending any money on that until the underlying problems are fixed.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Kelly.
But how does not funding that fix the problems there? I mean, I want us to be clear that we're not voting on certain things because we're punishing people. I mean, that's not our job, I don't think. We may have negative perceptions about APD, and there's plenty to be concerned about. I'd be the first to agree with that. But I don't think our decisions should be punishment-based. I think it should be based upon what does the evidence indicate.
What in the world is punitive about what I'm saying? I'm saying I do not trust the leadership of APD to train police officers in the way that this community has asked that they be trained. Therefore, they should not be training police officers right now. That's what I'm saying. It's not punitive.
What are the consequences of that?
Meg.
It'll be a wake-up call, and maybe they'll do what council has asked them to do.
The commission,
Meg,
I can talk. The chair recognizes Commissioner Bernhardt.
So I have a slightly different reasoning for opposing the pay raise that I think I voted for in the past, which is that in 2019, when they did that study on salaries, we were in the hottest job market that we could imagine here in Austin. And it's not that job market in Austin or Travis County right now. So even if we're concerned about recruiting, it's not the same situation. And APD is unbelievably well compensated. You're not a cadet for a very long period of time. You end up being a very highly compensated police officer very quickly on a trajectory where you make six figures in, not a very long period of time. Being a cadet is a very short part of your career at APD. So I don't really think that we're going to be shortchanging ourselves in terms of recruits in the current job market that we're in the way that you're imagining, considering it's 2020 now, it's not 2019. Things are really different and they're really messed up. And I am also not opposed to sending APD a message on this one because I'm really frustrated with APD.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'd like real quick, and then I'll go to Commissioner Harris. I know we have Ken on the line from the APA, and I would like to give them an opportunity to comment on this as well, so that we make sure we're hearing kind of multiple perspectives on this and making the most informed decision we can possibly make. So Ken, are you still on the line? Maybe. Janet, do you know if Ken Cassidy is still on the line?
Hello.
There he is.
How's everyone doing?
Pretty good, thanks.
Okay. I am not disagreeing with anybody on this panel as far as there are some serious concerns that need to be looked at. And however, we do not need to punish people. We've already started paying our new hires $50,000 a year compared to $40,000, because who in the world would come to the city of Austin for $40,000? I'm appalled at some of the things I'm hearing. You've already indicted our academy when we have a PhD professional out there working that has not sounded the alarm on anything. There have been nothing but accusations and nothing's been proved. We've already moved people out of Parks and Lakes, Organized Crime Division, Highway Enforcement to move them back to patrol because the department does not want to spend the overtime. We realize that we won't be able to hire these 30 bodies this year, but we do believe we will be next year. And we need that money to pay officers overtime so we don't have to move people that work at Zilker Park, out on Lake Austin, in Organized Crime Division, and in Highway Enforcement to have them leaving their jobs to go to backfill patrol. So the city made a commitment last year for the next 4 years to hire 30 new FTEs every year. And in my opinion, that needs to be honored. And as far as the helicopter goes, think about what you're saying. You're saying, hey, we're going to have a 30-year-old helicopter out flying. What if the part that malfunctions and a helicopter crashes and we have 2 dead bodies? So we need to really think about what we're talking about before we criticize and don't vote for things that are being asked for, because they're being asked for a good reason. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate you being available. I'm going to go to Commissioner Harris because he was seeking recognition a few moments ago. And then I'll go to Commissioner Weber.
Yeah, so, in reference to the conversation we're having about the training academy, I think that, I agree very much so with Commissioners Weber and Bernhardt on this item. I'd also say that, to your concerns, Commissioner Kelly, we've had some retention problems, right, at the academy, like where there's been a lot of folks who have actually been dropping out. And so, obviously, they're already in the academy, right? So it's not as though they weren't offered enough to make it there, right? And so, and what we heard from some of the ex-cadets that were coming out was that it was particularly ex-cadets who had this professional experience that were coming to policing later in life, that were more, of a professional mind, and those folks are the ones who were, after seeing and encountering the academy, leaving it. So I think it's very much that the issues with the academy need to be addressed before any sort of potential pay increase could ensure that the type of recruits that folks are thinking will be enticed by additional monies will, in large part, actually stick with the academy and graduate.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Commissioner Weber.
I mean, it's almost too silly to address, but Of course, we should not be flying a dangerous helicopter over the citizens of Austin. So all I'm saying is you can ground your helicopter rather than getting a new helicopter. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying fly a dangerous helicopter.
Commissioner Kelly?
How can we facilitate fixing the problems at the academy? Rather than just saying, let's not pay them and moving on to something else.
Council Resolution 66. Excuse me, Chair.
I don't know what that means.
I'll send it to you. Here, I'll share it on my screen. Can I share my screen share or is that not allowed?
I don't know if we have the ability to do that or not.
If you feel confident sharing your screen, you can go ahead, yes.
Thank you.
I'm pulling it up now and then I will share.
While you're doing that, I just want to take a moment and thank our tech people that are fixing all of our problems and making sure everything is working the right way for us so that we can continue to meet in a socially distanced environment. You guys are wonderful and we really appreciate you guys.
Thank you much, Chair. It's a combined effort between clerks and CTM. Thank you.
I'm well aware of the number of you that are going into making us appear to be able to do our work at the very least. All right. So while Commissioner Weber's doing that, I'm going to make a motion that we revise the motion on the table to vote for each of the 5 line items individually so that we are able to move forward to our last item on the agenda. So I would like to make a motion that we separate the recommendation out. Sorry, my dog just scared me. We separate the recommendation out and vote separately on items 1 through 5.
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Alvarenga. Any further discussion before we start to vote on that? Okay, so let's take up item number 1 first, which is and what I will do then afterwards is revise the recommendation to reflect the vote on each individual item because we do have to make recommendations to council on each of the 5 proposed items. And so we will just kind of go through each one separately. So on item 1, which is the $5.5 million for addressing violent crime in Austin, I am going to abstain on that vote. Commissioner Weber? No. Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernhardt?
No.
Commissioner Harris?
No.
Commissioner Hausenfluck?
No.
Commissioner Nunez?
No.
Commissioner Alvarenga?
No.
Okay, so we are going to not recommend funding for that item. All right, so our next item is number 2. That is the $1.5 million for a cadet salary increase. I'm going to abstain on this one. Commissioner Weber? She votes no, visually indicated. Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernhardt?
No.
Commissioner Harris?
No.
Commissioner Hausenfluck?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunez?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear my name. It cut off. No.
Okay, sorry about that. Commissioner Alvarenga?
No.
Okay, that one does not pass. Or, I'm sorry, we will not be recommending funding for that. Item number 3, the $406,000 for 4 civilian FTEs. So on that one, I am going to vote yes. Commissioner Weber? Oh, Commissioner Weber, I cannot see you anymore. Hang on. Okay, Commissioner Weber? No. Okay. Sorry, I had to move my screen around to be able to see you again. Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernhardt,
No.
Commissioner Harris,
No.
Commissioner Hausenfluck,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunez,
No.
okay, Commissioner Alvarenga,
Yes.
okay. So we have a split vote on that, 4-4. We will return to that one in a minute. I'll get through all items and then we'll return to that one. Yeah. Okay. And number 4 is the $1.5 million to replace the current RMS, the records management system. I vote yes. Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernhardt,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Abstain.
Abstain? Yes? Okay. Sorry, just making sure I heard you correctly. Commissioner Hausenfluck,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunez,
Yes.
Commissioner Alvarenga.
Yes.
Okay, so that one passes. And item number 5 is the $1.3 million to replace an existing helicopter. I vote yes on that. Commissioner Weber,
No.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernhardt,
No.
Commissioner Harris,
No.
Commissioner Hausenfluck,
No.
Commissioner Nunez,
No.
and Commissioner Alvarenga. Yes? Okay. All right, so that one does not pass. Let's return to item number 3. Is there any further discussion on that one? I will state my reason for voting yes for that is my concern that this funds the 2 crime analysts who will be entering data into VICAP, which we are required to do. And so this will allow us to meet a state law requirement as an agency. I'm concerned with us being 5,000 cases behind on sexual assault data being entered and the potential that that has to impact case solvability rates for both our jurisdiction and others because of the inability to link cases across data and the potential to put sexual assault victims at risk. That's my concern with not passing that item. The chair recognizes Commissioner Weber.
So I'm concerned about that too. And this is something that this commission has been concerned about for years. But to me, it's a question of how you use your resources and what your priorities are. And so I think that backlog tells us everything we need to know about how APD prioritizes doing the very important thing that you just said.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, then if everyone is agreeable to it, I will report that as a tie vote, 4-4. I'm making sure I'm counting right. Sorry.
I don't think, I mean, you can report it as a tie vote, but it didn't pass.
Correct. But
Yeah.
the way we will report it out will just be that it was a vote that was tied.